theme around Mental Health Awareness Week is nature. Maddy and Fran, I know you're a lot more city-based rather than on the south coast. Did you make use of that? A lot more people have sort of got out and explored where they lived. I know you're out in the country, aren't you, Mads, in the back ends of nowhere, so...
Yeah, I mean, luckily for me, like I live out in the countryside, so I was able to get out and about kind of around there. There's a golf course at the back of my house, so there's no golfers, so it was quite nice to be able to like walk up and down there and stuff. And as me and Fran said earlier, I don't think we've walked, probably like anybody, I don't think we've walked as much as we ever have done. But yeah, like I think something like that's something that you can kind of take forward from lockdown, like getting out and getting active and taking a break sometimes, I guess.
I think a lot of people don't realise how important that can be for mental health. Being out in the community, seeing kids as young as 5 or adults as old as 80, some people have literally not been out of the house in a year, if not more, and whether it's through just lack of confidence or whether it might have been shielding. And people just generally don't realise how important, even if it is on your own, getting out and getting some fresh air and exploring new places, it can help massively, can't it, I think?
Yeah, we've done a lot of walks in lockdown. As Maddy said, we got a golf course just around the corner as well, so just jumping on there and when you're walking with people, friends or partners, you just speak about things probably which you wouldn't speak about because you don't want to walk in silence or just be rude with each other. So we found out a lot about each other throughout that period, and as you said, it's something you can take on for a while now. Like you can just, if you're bored or you're just sat at home, you can just we'll just pop out for a walk. And it was nice for us just to get some fresh air, and obviously the weather was good at that time. And, it just gives you a bit of positivity to take for the rest of the day, that you've gone out, you've seen a bit of the place you're living in, which you don't normally see.
So Rammers, obviously you mentioned sort of whether you went out with, you sort of might have spoke about things that you've not really felt comfortable speaking about. Through that experience, is that something you've maybe taken into the dressing room? Are the lads a little bit more open about how they are feeling now, or if things have got a little bit tough coming out of the first lockdown and then throughout this season as well?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's something a lot of people say in the dressing room, but as I said before, we go to coffee and that is literally checking up on each other and you have a chat with friends rather than teammates. But it's definitely something which I've been able to help myself with and deal with. So obviously it's been a tough first 2 years for myself playing, and then the 6 months at the start of the year was really difficult for myself to take. And the experiences I got through lockdown of, as I said, we're going on walks and speaking to my girlfriend and friends who probably wouldn't have that conversation with. It probably allowed me to change my sort of fortunes around this year and pick up my form, because I just had honest chats with myself, with my dad, my mum and my girlfriend. So I think it's definitely coming into play more often, and obviously the lockdown has been horrendous for a lot of people, but if certain things are coming out of it which will help others, then obviously it's also been a blessing for some as well. Yeah,
definitely. Maddy, Fran, how have you found it as sort of playing part-time and working alongside it? How's that balance been? Playing, not playing, then having to juggle work on top of it whilst being on your own. I know, again, Maddy, that you've spent a lot of that time behind a computer doing all the social media stuff for community, haven't you? So
yeah, I mean, it's quite difficult because as you couldn't really do anything else, you kind of get stuck into like a routine of kind of like you just kind of doing the same thing every day. So whilst we were really, really lucky to be able to keep training and stuff, and it was something that we could do, and it was great in terms of getting that release in playing and stuff, each day was kind of the same, and like the routine, it does get a bit boring, and like Ramaz has said, like just going out for coffee and stuff like that is something you kind of take for granted, but we were lucky enough to be at training and stuff, so I mean all the girls and all the staff always made sure that we were all okay, and if you saw that somebody might be a bit down or something, like you check up on them. And I think that's something that we're all kind of a bit more wary about now. So I think that's definitely something that we can all take forward, and it's made us a lot closer as a team, I think, the last 18 months.
Yeah, I agree on that. I think kind of being here for like the first year since joining in August, because we've not really had anything else to do, you get to know your teammates much more than you probably would in a regular season. So kind of being in the changing room and you just know when something's off with someone, I think that's been quite helpful to see. And I think personally, I have a psychologist, which I'm not afraid to say, but obviously like Rammers will say, it's quite a lonely position being a goalkeeper. So that helps me a lot, and we do like a walk and talk thing. So we'll go for a walk and talk for anything that's on my mind or anything like that. And I think that's helped me be a better person in the changing room for other players as well, and knowing that they can come to me if they need anything.
How have you found it?
Difficult at the start. I was lucky in a way, maybe not so lucky. I was put on furlough originally, but only for a month. There was a lot of my colleagues were 3-4 months, if not longer. So it's sort of a blessing in that sense. But I resonate with what you said, Maddy, sort of getting up and doing the same thing day in, day out. That month I was on furlough, I was living on my own in a one-bed flat. You're just seeing the same four walls. The weather was like it is today for a full month, but I didn't even have a garden to sit in. So that was quite challenging for the first time in my life. I sort of maybe did slump a little bit and get a little bit low, but getting back into work, albeit working from home and not doing what I'd normally do, being out in the community and engaging with people out there, it was still nice to get a little bit more routine back into my life. And then sort of the month after that was when Project Restart came, and then football came back, which was a bit of a release for a lot of people, albeit it was only on TV. It was still something to look forward to for millions and millions of people. I'm sure, Rammers, you'll have been in the same boat when everything got sorted to come back and play. Must have been a massive relief or weight off of your shoulders as well.
Yeah, as you say, we're fans at the end of the day as well.
Yeah.
And, it is our job, but it's also a privilege, and it's a massive blessing for us to be able to be in a job which we love. So when we were training for the 2 or 3 months when we were off, with no sort of end goal, sometimes your motivation can not be there. So when you know they've got that first game back, and there was games on TV all the time, and as you said, I think that first few weeks when we went into lockdown, and my routine was waking up late, doing a workout in the afternoon, and probably being on my Xbox for most of the night and going to bed late. So with the change around, and then we got back into football with the games, I was waking up and I watch football all the time anyway, and it didn't matter what game, but there was just football constantly on in the house, and it just took your mind off everything. And that sort of drive and commitment towards something at the end of the week is what we work for, us three, and it's what everyone else looks for to watch for their enjoyment as well.
Yeah, I think lacking motivation or struggling to find motivation to do things, even get out of bed during those early days was so tough, wasn't it? Whether you were a footballer, whether you worked in the community, whether you worked behind a desk, albeit you can do that from home, it was so hard to just be on your own, be with your own thoughts all the time, not have people to have banter with in an office or in the dressing room. It was such a tough adjustment period, wasn't it? So now I really resonated with that. I think a lot of people felt exactly the same. Sort of interested to know, I've not really asked any footballer yet. Has it been a challenge playing without fans? Has that been sort of mentally draining, or has it sort of got to a point now where you're just completely used to it?
I think it's been really tough, to be fair. I think you miss them a lot, more than I think people realise. And I've said to Mads a few times, my family are Blades, and they've not even been able to come and watch a game since I've signed for the club. So that's been really difficult, and I think it kind of goes missed how much of an impact they have on us on a pitch, and we've definitely missed it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think when you're playing as well, you always kind of know where your family are in the crowd, and something like looking up and seeing your mum or your dad, or going over to them, your friends and family after the game, is something that obviously we've not had for a while now, and it is something that you really miss. And like my mum and dad, they come to every single game, and they've really missed it. Like grandparents too, and it's one of them where they've not been at the games now for such a long time. So yeah, it's something that you do take for granted, but all the fans and everything, it really does make the atmosphere, and yeah, we have really missed them.
Yeah, banging on the same drum, but they are a huge impact on the team, on myself as well, because it's funny enough, my brother doesn't really know anything about football and still comes to watch me. But so when they score and it's like, oh, why does no one get to celebrate with me? And my teammates at that point become the fans, so I turn around and I celebrate with the fans, and I know how much of an impact the Blades fans have, and obviously we've had a tough year, but I definitely think it would have been different with them. But it's just, as we said, just the enjoyment, you know. For me anyway, getting wound up by the away fans is it's nice, you know. If it's in a respectful way of me and them, and I've always found that if you give them a bit of respect and you have banter back with them, then they respect you after the game, they clap you off and things like that. So
it's kind of took that buzz away a little bit, hasn't it? The game day like vibe.
Yeah, especially you know, you score a goal and it's almost like, one, you're waiting for VAR, which is a different subject, but two, you're also just, there's no raw emotion, you know. You don't see anyone running down the steps in the Cop End and trying to get to the front and celebrate with the players, and so it's obviously been a huge effect for us, and can't wait for it to be over, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's good to sort of understand those emotions, because people a lot of the times forget that footballers are human, aren't they? And sort of club employees in general do have feelings, and that's a big part of the reason why everyone wants to be a footballer, is to feel that buzz. And if it is taken away, I can see why it is such a massive sort of like, not struggle, but it makes it a little bit harder to perform potentially on a match day.
Yeah, there's certain players will thrive off it, because they will enjoy the pressureless situations of not 30,000 people getting on your back if you're having a tough game. But I think a lot of people, they definitely thrive off it. Me in particular, and obviously Fran and Maddy have both said that they do as well. So you know, we're looked at as footballers, and we are role models to an extent, and you know, but I think people do forget that we are humans at the end of the day. We're privileged to be in this position to play, but the pressure which comes with it, or the demands which come with it from fans, or the abuse, obviously is tough. And it's only like me saying something to someone who works behind the desk on the phone, if my car's not getting repaired, and me hurling abuse at them, they wouldn't like it at the same time. So you know, it's tough for everyone to take, and I think that's going to be good when the fans come back, because you hear that less, you know.
Yeah.
No one's just, not everyone's hiding behind a computer screen. So I think that's another reason why fans in the stadiums are a massive plus for everyone.
Yeah, so important, aren't they? So important. Obviously, I think a lot about Mental Health Awareness Week is sort of people accepting sort of their struggles, and sometimes sort of how they can maybe seek help, or maybe sort of just looking at themselves and thinking about how they might change and create a more positive lifestyle for themselves. And I think a big part of that is maybe seeing what struggled, or how you might have struggled, and see if it's taught you anything new about yourself. So Maddy, start with you. Sort of the struggles that you faced this year made you a better person, or have you learned something new about yourself?
Yeah, definitely. I think getting out, and with the theme being nature, I think getting out and even just taking that 5-10 minute break you might not want to start with, or you might not, like, you might feel like you can't be bothered, but just getting out and having a 5-minute walk, 10-minute walk with your friends or your family, I think you really underestimate how much that can really help your mental health and just clear your head, and it can set you up for the rest of the day. Like if you're starting off not feeling great or something, that can have a massive impact, and that's something that I've kind of learned, and something that I definitely do more than I did before.
Yeah. What about you, Rammers? Have you learnt something new about yourself through all these tough times?
Yeah, I thought I was confident and bullish, and nothing would affect me, and obviously that isn't. It is true to an extent, you know. I think that is my personality, but I also just took everything on the chin, let it all go on my shoulders, and just weighed me down, you know. And especially the first 6 months of this season, that obviously showed, you know. And I've just learned to trust people now, and I speak to obviously the people who are around me a lot more honestly, and we just have, you know, an honest conversation, and I've been able to do that because of the struggle of the start of the season, even if that was just football wise, and it's not come from the lockdown or anything. With no fans being there, it's been scrutinised a lot more, so I've just been able to, you know, to be honest a lot more. I just realised that obviously so it's all right to just say what you're thinking, and you might think you're a really confident person and nothing affects you, but sometimes you just got to take a step back and sort of just have a conversation, which I've done recently. Yeah.
What about you, Fran?
I think, like I touched on last year, I had a really bad injury, and that kind of led into the first lockdown, so that was really hard. And I think I learned about myself. It's like, it's okay to feel something, it's okay to struggle. I think previously through my career I'd probably only struggle with not starting or something like that, but mentally that was really hard for me to get through. And I think not just learn about myself and kind of, it's all right to be vulnerable, because I'm a bit like Aaron, as in I'm strong, I don't need any help, I'm an independent woman. Kind of I accept help. Like I said, I've worked with a psychologist and that's helped me a lot. But I think I've also learnt a lot about other people, and I think when you're struggling you realise who's there for you and who's not, and I think that's something that everybody can take away, that if someone's willing to help you, then take it. Don't feel bad about someone offering, because if you know you did the same for them, then there's no issue.
How has your psychologist helped you?
I think as hard as it's been kind of talking about the things that have been sensitive, as much as I've not liked it at the time, moving past that, and kind of desensitising what happened or how I was treated or the injury itself, just moving past that, and kind of being able to have a bit more of a clearer mind rather than 100 things going around in your mind at the same time, which I think a lot of people have. And when you're trying to deal with all those things at once, it can be very overwhelming. So I think, yeah, just dealing with little things piece by piece to get a little bit stronger. Yeah,
and I think sort of communicating with people out there, the ones that maybe have consciously stayed in, are really worried about coming out. And I think there's a lot more people that are a lot anxious about things going back to normal for many reasons. This has been everyone's routine for more than a year now. And on the other side of the coin, there are a lot of people that are really excited about it getting back to normal. So are you guys really excited about it, or have you got any reservations about things creeping sort of up towards a more normal outlook on life?
For me personally, I'm really looking forward to getting back out there, but even like the little things, like say if you are going, obviously we can go out a little bit now, and there's like these open air outlets and stuff, and even when you go there and it's really busy, you do kind of like feel yourself being like feeling a little bit anxious almost sometimes, just because it's been so long since we've been in big crowds and stuff, and I think that's something that a lot of people will like struggle with, but I think it's really important to try and like push yourself to like do that, obviously if you feel comfortable to try and get back to some sort of like normality.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm ready for it, and you know, but I do feel a little bit. Yeah, it would be anxious for other people, you know, and because although you might feel fine about it or you might not be worried about it, you never know what anyone else is thinking inside. So, you know, if someone is walking past and they take an extra 2 steps away from you to walk around you, it's not because it's you, it's just because obviously they might have anxiousness or feeling that they're not 100% sure. So it'll be interesting to obviously see what everyone is like in a big crowd, if people still wear masks or whatever. And you obviously just got to respect their choices if they do, and it's not down to anything else other than what that individual wants to do.
Yeah, I agree with Aaron. I was just going to say, I think some people are going to be overwhelmed, and I've got friends that are kind of got anxiety and stuff like that, like Maddy said, and I think going into the big crowds again, or going shopping for that matter, like it's going to be a change because I've not had it for so long, but I mean, I'd like to think the world is a little bit less judgmental after all this, because I think that's the main thing, going out, like Aaron said, and kind of seeing someone without a mask and thinking, well, why haven't they got their mask on? Like, they might have a medical reason, and I think it's just kind of everyone just getting back to their own normal, and then everything will just go back to itself naturally.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you learned anything about yourself, Rob, throughout lockdown?
I've learned to be more resilient, and I've learned to sort of take stock and appreciate the smaller things. Family. I really, really appreciate my family a lot more now than maybe what I did before. When I first moved down, I couldn't wait to move out. I couldn't pining for my mum, and I couldn't wait to get back again after a couple of months on my own, which I'm openly happy to sort of admit and accept. And I'll probably get a few pelters for it, but and sort of. I think it's made a lot of people a lot more independent as well. It's sort of, certainly at work, me and Maddy both work for the Community Foundation. We have been trusted to get on with our jobs. There's a lot of people I know that sort of feel really pressured or put under a lot of pressure to do certain things whilst working from home. Where we are trusted just to get on with our jobs, aren't we, Mads? And that has made me realise that I can set tasks for myself, and I can work to a diary really well, which I didn't think I'd been able to do if I wasn't having to work from home for so long. So, do
you enjoy working from home?
Sometimes. I do miss sort of going into the office and seeing the guys and having a laugh and having a lot of banter, seeing the same cat and the same faces all the time can be a bit stressful and a bit challenging.
What's your cat called?
Albie. It's my missus's cat, not mine. Especially when he's in a very hyper mood, he's a bit of a nightmare when he's trying to work. So, but going in and seeing different faces, or even just having a commute into work is really good for mental health, and it's really good time to reflect. And a lot of people haven't had that for so long. It's nice to have a big balance, and I hope moving forward a lot of people do find a really good balance between working from home and working in the office, whether it's 2 days and 3 days or whatever. I think that'll be a really big, really, really important factor, certainly for those that have children. Maybe people haven't seen the kids a lot because they have been working. Now there might be a little bit more flexibility to do that. And I think a lot of people do need that balance, and hopefully this will be a positive out of COVID, is that'll be a big improvement to everyone's mental health, because the work-life balance will be a lot better.
I think that resonates with the footballers as well, and as everyone knows, we've had a tough season, and when you've been getting beat and you're in that routine, and it's hard to get out of that when your confidence is low, and then all you can really do is go home and, as you say, stay at the same four walls, and everyone thinks, oh, you're footballers, life's cushy, you go back to your nice big house, but if you're still sitting there and you're constantly worrying about football, there's nothing to get out and do, and that's been the same for everyone, so it's no different for us, and I think the one thing that personally I've tried to do is just try to enjoy myself a lot more. And so one thing my dad said to me, he said, obviously, if you're 2-3-0 down, I don't want to see you laughing and joking. So it doesn't look great on you, but just have a smile on your face, and that's what I've tried to do recently, and that's probably why I'm enjoying myself more. I'm enjoying football again, and that's why I just can't wait to get the fans in, because I know they'll be singing as loud as they can on the last day of the season, although it's been horrendous for them. And then obviously into next year, and it smiles on everyone's faces, and that's probably just the best thing I've tried to do, is smile through it. Obviously, without taking it too far, and that's the best way I think everyone can do it, and obviously it's okay to not smile, like if you're feeling down or whatever, but to try and be positive is for me one of the best ways I try and deal with it.
Yeah, everyone's coping mechanisms are different, aren't they, at the end of the day, and you have got to try and reflect on yourself and find out what works for you to get yourself in a more positive mindset, definitely.
Yeah, and I think I can speak on behalf of these guys as well. Like, I don't think there's anything we can't wait to hear more than the fans singing like the Greasy Chip Butty song before. That's something that, we'll be buzzing to hear that when the fans are back in, and yeah, that'll be brilliant.
Yeah, I can't wait to stop hearing my mum sing it. That's all she sings. So it'll be better to hear 30,000 than just the one.
Yeah.